Palestinian authorities have strongly condemned a rampage by Israeli settlers in the West Bank town of Huwara, saying the Israeli government is fully responsible for the terrorist act. At least one Palestinian was killed and more than 100 others left injured after violence erupted overnight. A group of Israelis raided the town, attacking locals and setting buildings and cars ablaze. One house was reportedly torched while a Palestinian family was still inside. Israeli troops reportedly arrived shortly after to push back the attackers and protect civilians. The Israeli Prime Minister made a statement condemning the violence and called for the army to do its job. He also promised to find the attackers. The destruction and chaos come just hours after 2 Israelis were killed in a drive-by shooting in the same town. We spoke to a Palestinian who witnessed the violence.
We came home from work as usual. It was after evening prayers. Suddenly, we saw from the main street mobs of settlers. We heard the sound of things breaking and shooting. There was screaming. The noise got louder. We heard women screaming from one of the houses. There were 7 or 8 of them. We came to see what was happening. The house of one resident, Abdel Nasser, and his car was set ablaze. Around it there were 50 or 60 settlers. We think they set it on fire. We picked up some stones and confronted them. The same thing happened to our brother, Abu Ammar. His son was wounded. His shoulder was injured. The settlers beat him up. Women started screaming inside their houses because they were alone. The homes of our residents were broken into. They broke the windows of the houses. They burned some houses completely. They burned everything. Abdel Nasser's car, they set it ablaze. There's nothing left. They entered our houses. You see the stone? They threw it in here. They broke everything with them. This is ethnic cleansing. But thank God the people are resilient. This is our land, and we will stay on it.
As you can see in the footage, dozens of parked cars were burnt to the ground during the attack, along with multiple houses that were also set ablaze and damaged by the settlers. The new wave of violence comes as Israeli and Palestinian authorities met in Jordan for a one-day summit aimed at curbing the recent spike in tensions. Last Wednesday, an IDF raid killed at least 11 Palestinians and left more than 100 injured in the occupied West Bank city of Nablus. The local director of the Red Crescent branded the incident as a massacre. According to statistics released by the Palestinian Health Ministry, at least 65 Palestinians, including 13 children, have been killed since January. The ministry described this as the bloodiest ever start of the year for the people of Palestine in decades. We spoke to Israeli journalist and political analyst Amir Orem, who says the latest clashes just bolster the cycle of violence.
The term cycle of violence has become such a cliche, but unfortunately it is true, because each incident is begetting another one and another revenge action or an action to foil another attack. And obviously no defensive measures, neither offensive nor deterrence, keeps the Palestinians from acting against Israelis, and therefore Israeli actions against the Palestinians. The tragedy is that everyone knows that the peace process should be relaunched via talks, at least between President Abbas and whomever the Israeli Prime Minister happens to be. But there is no willingness, especially on the Israeli side, to really launch these talks, because down the road, obviously, there would have to be concessions. There would have to be a withdrawal from territories. There will have to be an evacuation of settlers and of settlements. They don't want to pay the price of peace, and therefore they would rather have these incidents go on and on forever.